tonight as Catholic Bishops' Conference and Christian Council defend preserving Christian identity in faith-based schools. Also, this afternoon, IGP Christian Tetayehonu's renewed mandate sparks controversy. We'll tell you why. And later on, more than 400 persons displaced by the Akonsomo Dam spillage still stuck in the various camps in the Northern District of the Volta region. Details of these and more in the next 30 minutes. My name is Grace Hamwajiman. Stay with us. Let's begin the bulletin from here, and religious tolerance is once again taking center stage as the debate over freedom of religious practice resurfaces, this time following a legal battle between Wesley Girls High School and private legal practitioner Shafiq Usman. Mr. Usman is challenging policies at Wesley Girls that allegedly restrict Muslim students from observing key religious practices, including wearing the hijab and fasting during Ramadan. According to him, these policies infringe on the constitutional right to freedom of religion. However, the Attorney General representing Wesley Girls Senior High School and the Ghana Education Service has defended the school, arguing that as an institution founded and run by the Methodist Church, it has the right to maintain its denominational identity and ethos. Reacting to the matter on the floor of Parliament, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu said government remains committed to ensuring that no student is denied the right to practice their religion.
Mr. Speaker, let me also use this opportunity in debating the budget, since I speak as the present Minister for Education, that there is some ongoing debate on restrictions on Muslim students in Wesley Girls, which conflicts with international human rights standard and even standard expected of us in Ghana's Constitution under Article 33(5) and 26(1) of the Constitution. And then to assure our colleagues that we have a duty to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian child and to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian citizen. No right is divisible, and that we will not countenance any action by any person to deny any Ghanaian girl the opportunity to profess or practice any religion. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude.
The Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Christian Council of Ghana have also waded into the discourse, jointly emphasizing the need to preserve the Christian identity and values of mission schools. According to them, these institutions were established, developed, and nurtured by the churches long before the creation of the Ghanaian state, and government support to such schools must be seen as a partisanship, not ownership. Let's bring in Dr. Sheikh Ibrahim bin Sana, a public health specialist and also an Islamic scholar. Sheikh, thank you for making time to speak to us on our bulletin this afternoon.
Islamic scholar who has written on this subject matter recently.
Sheikh, can you hear me? We're working the phone to speak to Dr. Sheikh Ibrahim bin Sana, a public health specialist and also an Islamic scholar, on this issue, the stance between the two schools, or the stance between the two sides, and what each of them are saying. Let's still stay on this and talk to Reverend Dr. Kwabena Opuni-Frimpong, a Ghanaian academic and former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. Reverend, thank you for joining us on our bulletin this afternoon.
Good afternoon, and let me say good afternoon to your cherished listeners.
Right. Reverend, why do mission schools like Wesley Girls feel strongly about preserving their Christian identity even while operating under the Ghana Education Service?
Yeah. Let me thank you for the opportunity and say that because Wesley Girls is before the Supreme Court at the moment, let's allow the court and the lawyers to do their work, but do the general conversation on the mission schools and the challenge we are going through. I must say that one of the things we've been able to do and do well in this country is what we want to call religious harmony. How Muslims and Christians have been able to live together over the years, including our schools. But the churches set up their schools even during the colonial government, before independence. And government came in to do what we call today give assistance, and that giving me support, assistance, should never be a takeover that you are paying my teachers and therefore you are taking the school, so it's now public school. In any case, government is paying Arabic teachers in Muslim schools. Does that make it a public school? When you go to Muslim school, Tia Nadia, to whom Islamic girls, Friday afternoon, go and check. When the minister was talking at Parliament, I wanted to ask him or somebody to ask him, are you aware what happens in Muslim schools? Can somebody in the name of human rights go to Tia Nadia that I want to eat pork? Can I go to Suhum Islamic girls and say, this is human rights, give me pork? These are the things, little respect and compromises we have been able to make over the years. And moving forward, I pray and hope that we maintain that legacy. We have had a Muslim girl as guest prefect at Wesley Girls before. So when you are talking about what the churches have done, let's show them some respect. But for now, we wait for the Supreme Court. But it seems to me we must tread cautiously where we are going, because it's not only Methodist Church. It seems to me all the churches that are running schools have interest in this subject, and the government must find a better way. We've been meeting over the years, but where we've reached now, it seems to me we should not discourage the churches, and maybe the government must intervene. But the Minister of Education must also be a little bit cautious how he's handled the feelings of the churches.
Right. So, Reverend, how do you respond to concerns that some of these setting rules may indirectly exclude or disadvantage students of other faiths? So far as we have these schools and we are enjoying some form of religious tolerance, you find Christians going to Islamic schools and vice versa?
You see, we have several schools in this country. We have pure government, call them secular schools, Laboni Secondary School, Accra Academy. We have such schools. Then we have Opokuware, Prempeh College, Wesley Girls, St. Rose's, Ebri Girls. These are churches that are established their schools according to their faith, as they are contributing to national development and also expansion of their faith. At a point, government, and that's after independence, some of the schools are more than 90 years. So they were there before independence.
Right.
That the government reached out to the schools that want to assist you. If we've reached a point and the government feels that you are not doing what we want, they should just stop supporting the mission schools. But it should never be a takeover. Churches have rights. The churches also have rights to make their own investment, establish businesses, establish schools and hospitals. So you can't stop them that they are churches and therefore they should not establish schools or hospitals. But if you feel that I'm a government, I'm not prepared to put taxpayers' money into faith investments like this, then you stop. But you don't go there and say, I'm taking over. This is international human rights. Muslims also have rights.
Yeah.
And I'm saying go to Muslim schools on Friday, and the Minister of Education must check at his own backyard whether they allow students to eat pork in Muslim schools.
Well, how do you suggest we manage this so that we don't mar the beauty of the tolerance when it comes to religion that we are enjoying?
The first thing is the politicians must be very careful. When the St. Augustine issue came, some of the MPs who marched for that are involved in the current conversation. And so they give us certain signals. This issue is not new. We've been meeting, in fact, the current vice president. When she was Minister of Education, our General Secretary Christian Council, we met in her office on this issue. When our big brother, Dr. Martin Opoku Prempeh, was minister, we were in his office. We have traveled very long, and there are several, we signed memorandum of understanding on this subject. And so that diplomacy is what we must move into the future.
Right.
We will still wait for the Supreme Court. But the politicians and the Home Minister going to parliament and quoting international laws and all that to the churches, must also be careful that the Muslims are also trampling on other people's rights, and he must address them.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you for talking to us. Reverend Kwabena Opuni Frimpong is a Ghanaian academic and former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. Let's just stay on this and talk to a Muslim cleric, Mustafa Abdul Latif Sani. He is also joining us on the phone. Thank you for joining us, sir. Let me briefly take your comments on, from your perspective, how do you think we can balance the school's internal rules with the students' religious obligations, especially in mission schools with strong denominational identities? It looks like we will still have Muslim students going to Christian schools and Christian students also going to Muslim schools. How do we create that balance that we're all looking for?
Okay, thank you very much. And then good afternoon to your listeners, and thank you for having me once again. I think my preliminary comment will be that I see whether we like it or not, we are staying in one sovereign nation. Whether we like it or not, we are all human beings. Whether we like it or not, we have one source, that is Adam and Eve. Whether we like it or not, we have differences. Whether we like it or not, all of us will not be on the same religion. Whether we like it or not, we will not have the same opinion and level of faith and knowledge. Whether we like it or not, we have different colors, we have different tribes. But in all this, we have to learn to tolerate each other.
Right.
Whether from the Muslim perspective, whether from the Christian perspective, we must learn to tolerate each other. In all of us, Christian and Muslims are on Abrahamic faith. It's interesting, you read the Quran, you read the Bible, they are preaching almost the same thing when it comes to issue of tolerance. So sometimes I find it amazing when we find some of us treading on, doing something else as if we have not read the Bible or we have not read the Quran. Tolerance is something that, both Quran and Bible teaches. It's very primary. God in his wisdom had not created the same thing. He created us with differences.
Right.
Therefore, we must learn to live with our differences.
Okay.
There is no way that you say that, because I'm a Muslim and I have my own rules, so definitely automatically when a Christian comes to me, I expect him to suddenly behave and follow my rules. The same thing to the other side too cannot hold. If you say that because you are a Christian or mission school, therefore automatically your rules must apply, no. That is why if you study the philosophy and the wisdom behind the enshrinement of the Constitution, it's not a religious book. Maybe when you read the Quran, when you read the Bible, we can have our own subjective interpretation. Being a Muslim, you can have a Muslim cleric who is explaining the Quran in a very subjective way. You can have a Christian who is explaining the Bible in a very subjective way. But if you stand the middle ground, if you look at the philosophy behind the constitutional enshrinement, it is all picked from all these sources and then come to the middle level.
Okay.
We have the national interest to protect.
Right.
Can you imagine today if Muslims say that, fine, Muslims are going to construct their schools and they are not going to tolerate Christians. Christians are going to construct their schools, they are not going to tolerate Muslims. And then all of us begin, the traditionalists also define, we're also going to... if the nation goes this way over some years, how porous do you imagine Ghana will be?
So
do you think we are going to have security, proper security? Are people not going to take entrenched position? Are we not going to cause division among ourselves? Let humanity reign. We are human beings first.
Okay.
You see, so in any direction, whether coming from the Christian perspective or Muslim perspective, the basic thing that the Quran is teaching us, with the National Chief Imam always set the tone and always refer to the Quran, is we must learn to tolerate each other and be uniform. And you tolerating someone does not mean that you're not practicing your faith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Shafiq, thank you for talking to us. I've been talking to Abdul Latif Sani, who is also a Muslim cleric. This is the Media News on 3FM 92.7. Let's do some other stories now. Another one that's courted a lot of public interest, and the request for a 2-year extension for the Inspector General of Police, IGP Christian Teta-Yehonu, has sharply divided public opinion, with many questioning the propriety of such a move. This follows a recommendation by the Police Council for for President Mahama to grant the IGP a 2-year extension of tenure. Mr. Yehonu is due for retirement in December when he turns 60, the compulsory retirement age for public officers. A leaked letter dated November 25 issued by the Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama, confirms that the President has approved the Police Council's recommendation, effectively extending the IGP's stay in office. The development has triggered intense debate over whether government has reversed its earlier directive barring tenure extensions for public officers approaching retirement. Deputy Ranking Member on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, Kofi Amankwa-Manu, says he disagrees with the extension.
To be able to extend.
Person out there, those who are also down there working so hard to get to the top would never get to the top. If you have somebody who has about 3 years to go on retirement and now you have 2 years, by the time it gets to that person, he'll already be on retirement. This really do not augur well for, the full the commitment of people. You need people to work for something. And by way of doing that, when they work, knowing very well that tomorrow they can be recognized and be made IGP, but then, you just cut it off because you have one person who probably will do your bidding. Well, I think it's for me, if you ask me, it's a sorry state. And for me, it will even kill that spirit of wanting to work hard to see the police grow. Because after all, there will be nothing to look up to, nothing to fight for. So if I am there and I have about 3 years and I know that, look, if I do so well, commit myself to doing that to move the police forward, I will be recognized and probably be made the IGP if I happen to be the second in line. And then you have this IGP having his tenure extended. What it means is that I don't have anywhere going. I am completely, locked up. So what do I have to do? It's going to be business as usual.
Southong MP Maxwell Lukuto, however, believes the extension is justified and in the interest of stability.
To be able to extend the tenure of the IGP, if he so wishes, for 2 years, exactly what is done. President John Dramani Mahama is a president of all time who plays with the books or plays according to the rules of engagement of the Constitution and the laws that govern us. I don't believe that he would do anything outside the law. So everything he does is strictly according to the law. And so I don't see why anybody should make a fuss about it. To say that people are in line and are waiting to get there, I'm not sure this is the first time this extension of contract is happening. And so it's a normal thing. It's a vote of confidence in him by the president and the whole general police force. And so I think that we should do with it. He's come not too long ago. We realized that there were before he came.
Maxwell Kofi Lukuto is the Member of Parliament for Southong, but working the phone to speak to security consultant Richard Komado and also take his take on what this means to security and integrity of the police service. Away from that, more than 400 persons displaced by the Akonsomo Dam spillage are still stuck in the various camps in the North Tong district of the Volta region, 2 years after the disaster which displaced thousands of residents in the North Central South Tong district. Housing unit projects commenced by government to provide decent accommodation for the victims continue to stall. Let's speak to my colleague Faisal Abdul Idrisu on this. Faisal, if you can hear me, talk to us. What is the latest on the accommodation provision by government so far? Government is considering an upward review of the feeding grants for students in special schools from the current 7 cedis to 15 cedis per student. The proposal follows a request to get fund to allocate 100 million cedis annually to support special needs education. Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu revealed this at a meeting with heads of special schools in Accra.
So we want to dedicate Get Fund funding. One, to finance free senior high school or secondary education, which we inherited, make provision for it. So you will see that some 4.2 billion will be allocated to free senior high school and for feeding and other infrastructure. The amended Get Fund Act will also make a provision for free tertiary education for all persons with disability. And the third, if the amendments succeed, free education for all learners with special needs, but to be funded by the GET Fund. So in my consecutive estimate, I'm thinking that you require 65 million Ghana cedis in a year to 100 million Ghana cedis in a year. So if GET Fund has a budgetary allocation of 9 billion Ghana cedis, it should be possible for GET Fund every other year to make 100 million available to support.
Well, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu there. Let's do some politics now from the quarters of the New Patriotic Party, because the campaign for the NPP's flag bearer slot is heating up, and one of the candidates, Dr. Osei Edichum, is making a major push in the Ashanti region. The former Minister of Education is on a mission to woo delegates with a core message of better welfare for the party's base. To get a sense of the mood on the ground, my colleague Ibrahim Bubakar is joining us with more. Ibrahim, talk to us. Where has the campaign been and what's the energy like?
So the former education minister and lawmaker of Bosumche has so far engaged delegates in 3 constituencies. We are talking about Bosumche, where he is the MP, and then Achuman Wodieja South, and also Achuman Wodieja North. And all these are part of his 1-week Ashanti regional tour, just so you'll be able to share with the delegates his plans for the party and also the country when given the chance to lead the MPP in the 2028 presidential election. And the reception so far, I might say, has been encouraging in all the places that he visited. We have a lot more party people coming to him, others even endorsing his candidature. But we only have to wait for January 31 to see whether indeed their endorsement will translate into votes. But the message from Dr. Osei Edichum to the delegates has been that of welfare improvement and economic development. He is saying that leadership is all about bettering the lives of others, and that is what he stands for. So you will ensure that when giving the nod, you prioritize the welfare of party officials, and you also ensure that he comes out with initiatives that will empower traders economically and also improve education generally. Let's listen to what he has been telling some of the delegates.
Right.
Campaign where I am. Munya Kese. Who are Wunya and Sunya Gideon? Sabaya Beto, he has indeed many place among problem. Among some Yadi pay. Yadi Padanipa. How your man Penino Ammonia and a hawk. Uncrophone be good anymore. And I mean, the man said, Mea Jubilee House, many special advisor for party welfare. Now, party office via winning office where be the welfare officer that's now. Party penny ababa and yaman kwe we yare. Ayare no ayediama. When national health insurance into Mintua. A certain special insurance, I have patriotic health insurance. Dear Ghana health insurance into Mintriam, and Nutinia Day, Etria, near Body Pahobai. And thereby, of Simon and Niam Samaye. Said, a man or motor near Mano, Yabo Mudgetri, Grant, Freeman, and Yamasoko.
That was former Education Minister and also a candidate for the NPP's flag bearership position, Dr. Osei Edichum. Earlier, you heard my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar bringing us updates on his campaign. Let's go back to that story on the relief for the Akosomo Dam victims and then talk to my colleague Faisal Abdul. Faisal, if you can hear me, just update us on what you have observed so far when it comes to the building government is providing for these victims.
Yes, so during the disaster that occurred in 2023, government moved in to initiate the construction of new accommodation units for the victims. Mind you, these victims
were kept in safe havens and some structures provided during the disaster. Today, as I speak to you, in the North Tongue area alone, over 400 of these victims are still locked up in the camps because government has not been able to complete a single accommodation unit despite the initial initiatives that they began to undertake. In the North Tongue area alone, there's supposed to be some 700 accommodation units in 6 different places for the victims. Yesterday, we toured these facilities, and it is heartbreaking to note that these projects are not even up to 10% of completion. And what it looks like is that there are no clear timelines for their completion, and for that matter, the victims will continue to stay in these safe havens and camps provided during the disaster. I've been engaging some of the victims. Let's listen to them on exactly how they feel continuing to stay in these camps almost 3 years after this disaster.
We just entered the 3rd year since we were brought to the camps, but nothing has changed. The rooms are congested and we are struggling for space. So we are appealing to government to support us. They should support us with livelihood support packages so that our children can go to school. But most importantly, we need decent accommodation and support to revive our businesses so that we can feed ourselves.
Well, you heard some victims of the Akonsomo Dam split complaining about government inability to give them proper accommodation 2 years after the accident. Earlier, my colleague from the Volta region, Faisal Abdi Idrisu, also updates us on the situation there. Before we go, let's end the bulletin on a rather sad note because an overnight fire at the Dansoman market in Accra has killed an 8-year-old girl and destroyed several shops and wooden structures. It took the National Fire Service several hours to contain the inferno and prevent it from engulfing the entire market. Here's a report by my colleague Joseph Armstrong Gold Alogbe on the Dansoman fire incident.
According to the Ghana National Fire Service, they received a distress call reporting a fire outbreak at the Dansoman market. The first crew from Dansoman Fire Station arrived immediately and met the blaze at advanced stage, spreading rapidly in all directions. There was reinforcement of fire tenders, leading to the mobilization of 8 fire engines from industrial area ministries, national headquarters, Medina, Weja, Anya, and Accra City, supported by 2 private water tankers from Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Through a coordinated attack, the fire was confined at 2 a.m. and brought under control at 3 a.m. Overhauling operations continued to deal with hidden pockets of fire, and the incident was fully extinguished by 5 a.m. Tragically, an 8-year-old girl trapped within the affected section of the market was burnt to death. The cause of the fire remains unknown at this stage as investigations are ongoing. The incident resulted in the complete destruction of an unspecified number of wooden structures and shops used for commercial activities along with its contents. However, several adjoining structures and properties were successfully salvaged from total destruction. Joseph Armstrong, Gold, TV3, Dansoman, Accra.
And here in the studio, my name is Grace Hamwajuman. And that's it for our package by way of the media news on 3FM 92.7. Many thanks for joining us. Log on to 3news.com and get some more stories. Blakk Rasta is standing by to bring you your show. But before that, we'll do business with Enyonam Haliga.
Busy on this frequency, 92.7 3FM.
Good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, Monetary Policy Committee announces policy rate decision in less than an hour following conclusion of its 127th meeting.
If you smuggle and we arrest you, we will confiscate your goods and you will lose your capital.
Also, the Ghana Revenue Authority warns smugglers risk losing capital to the state.
If you smuggle and we arrest you, we will confiscate your goods and you will lose your capital to the state.
And much later, high cost and lack of markets blamed for local rice woes.
If I produce rice and I spend maybe 10,000, I can't go and sell my rice and make 5,000. It doesn't make a business sense.
Details of our headlines and other stories, please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. I am Enyuna Maliga. Now to our first story. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana will conclude its 127th bi-monthly meeting today, Wednesday, November 26, 2025, with a policy rate decision expected less than an hour. The announcement will be made by the chairman of the committee and governor of the central bank at the Bank Square in Accra. My colleague Bismarck Ewusa has details in this report.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana ends its 3-day deliberations today, setting the stage for a major announcement on the benchmark policy rate. The decision, which will influence interest rates across the banking system, is expected to be revealed by the governor at a press briefing at the Bank Square. The 127th MPC meeting began on Monday to evaluate the state of the economy, including inflation trends, exchange rate performance, liquidity in the financial sector, and growth indicators in determining the future stance of monetary policy. Attention will be on whether the committee will maintain the current 21.5% rate following a sharp cut in September or adjust further to support ongoing economic stability. Businesses, investors, and everyday consumers are closely anticipating the outcome, which could impact borrowing costs, credit conditions, and overall confidence in the economy.
A report from my colleague Bismarck Ewusa. Now, the Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, has issued a strong warning to smugglers, stating they risk losing their entire capital if the state is caught. This tough stance is intended to serve as a significant deterrent against illicit trade activity. Mr. Sapon sounded a warning during a media briefing in Accra following a major operation that resulted in the seizure and confiscation of uncustomed goods on November 2022-2025 with an estimated tax value of 3.6 million cedis. The operation targeted locations in Tema and Aflao.
The law empowers us to also take action on the truck owners whose trucks were being used to perpetuate these activities. So again, we will surcharge the truck owners appropriate amount for using their assets or vehicle to facilitate movements that could lead to loss of revenue. The success of these operations underscore the collaboration between the authority and other security agencies. The Customs Division of the authority operates in synergy with officers stationed at various borders and frontier points nationwide to ensure that all goods entering the country comply with customs regulations and have required duties paid on them. Let me emphasize that smuggling kills businesses, takes away job opportunities for our people, and denies the state the necessary revenue. If you smuggle and we arrest you, we will confiscate your goods and you will lose your capital to the state.
Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Kwesi Sapon there. Now, the perceived rice glut currently troubling Ghana's agricultural sector is not a case of overproduction, but rather a crisis driven by exorbitant production costs and poor market access. This is the view of the Vegetable Producers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Now, speaking to 3 Business, the president of the association, Felix Kamasa, dismissed the notion of genuinely oversupply, stating that local price is simply going bad due to market failure. He emphasized that the primary issue is the high cost incurred by the local farmers.
If I produce rice and I spend maybe 10,000, I can't go and sell my rice and make 5,000. It doesn't make a business sense. So those people who have the rice, they also want to recoup their money. Some of them, their money is coming from the bank. So those are some of the challenges. Export is good. This is a time for us to look at. We want more intervention through the government to look at it and pay attention to the SME exporters as well. We believe that there's more they can do and look at the hanging food and take advantage on it and support so that we can achieve what we want to achieve.
President of the Vegetable Producers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Felix Kamasa, there. Now, professional service firm Deloitte Ghana is cautioning that the Bank of Ghana's plan to cut non-performing loans to 10% by the end of 2026 remains highly ambitious, even as the banking sector records steady growth in loan recoveries, asset quality, and lending conditions. There's more in the following 3 Business report.
In its analysis of the 2026 budget, the firm noted that the industry's NPL ratio has dropped from 22.8% in 2024 to 20.4% as of September 2025. According to Deloitte, this progress has been supported by a stronger CD, increased loan recoveries, deliberate write-offs, and modest credit growth. The central bank has issued new guidelines requiring banks to submit board-approved plans showing how they intend to manage and reduce impaired assets over the period. Deloitte also pointed to easier credit conditions, with average lending rates falling sharply from 30.6% to 22.7% within a year, and further declines expected as macroeconomic indicators stabilize. On bank restructuring, the firm highlighted a major turnaround at the National Investment Bank, NIB, following government's intervention package of cash, marketable bonds, and equity transfers. The support has lifted NIB's capital adequacy ratio to 23%, restoring full regulatory compliance and allowing the bank to refocus on SME financing. Deloitte added that the recapitalization of other state-owned banks could strengthen sector stability, protect jobs, boost investor confidence, and prepare them for future listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on professional service firm Deloitte flagging Bank of Ghana's 10% non-performing loan target as highly ambitious despite improvements in the banking sector asset quality. That will be all for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyuna Maliga. Enjoy the rest of your day.